Hey guys, this is John Paul Canzero from TheEliteTrainer.com. I'm going to show you how to design a body composition routine for your clients. This is the thought process that's involved when designing this type of program. Okay, so we're going to go over here. I have a 2-day template already set up. There's a big difference between doing 3 workouts a week versus 4. You will get much better results with that extra workout, with the 4th workout versus 3. If you are going to conduct 4 workouts a week, you should split them up over 2 days. Okay, and with this type of schedule, you can work day 1 and day 2 consecutively and then take at least 1 day of rest in between. So for instance, day 1 can be conducted on a Monday, Thursday schedule, and day 2 on a Tuesday, Friday schedule. This seems to be quite popular because it frees up the weekend. Now, I've arranged here 8 exercises per day, okay, and they are sequenced in pairs. So you have your A pair, your B pair, your C pair, and finally your D pair. And what we like to do to get maximum results for body composition purposes is to alternate between lower body exercises and upper body exercises. This way, as you fatigue the lower body, you then work your upper body. Your lower body will recover in the meantime. As you fatigue the upper body, you then work your lower body as the upper body recovers, and vice versa. Okay, so over here we want to start with a big compound multi-joint movement. So A1 on day 1 would be a squat. Okay, and if we go with a squat on day 1, well, day 2 we're going to start with a deadlift. Okay, these are our compound multi-joint movements. They are bilateral movements, so we want to include a unilateral lower body movement for each day. So if we go with a bilateral squat on day 1, we will perform a step up in the second pair, and if we go with the deadlift, we will go with a split squat or some type of lunge on day 2. Okay, and our multi-joint movement for the upper body, on day 1 we will start with a chin up. This will be our vertical pull, and in the second pair we'll have our vertical push, which will be a seated dumbbell press. Okay, so on day 1, if we're going with vertical push pull movements for the upper body, on day 2 we'll use a horizontal push pull. Okay, since we started with a pull, we'll start with a push on day 2. So here we'll insert a flat dumbbell press, and the horizontal pull will be a seated cable row. Okay, so over here we have our horizontal pull, over here we have our vertical pull, over here we have our horizontal press, and over here we have our vertical press. So everything's nicely balanced. Here we have a movement that's going to stimulate more of the posterior chain. So specifically we want to do a bent knee deadlift, and on this side we want to keep the trunk more upright to influence more of the anterior chain. It's more of a quad dominant activity. So here we will perform a heel elevated back squat. Okay, as far as the unilateral movements, if we're using a barbell on the back, we will use a dumbbell forward step up, and if we're going with barbell back, barbell low, dumbbell low, here we will use a low cable split squat. So we have different positions, different implements, different forms of resistance. Okay, so everything is nicely balanced. Okay, now as we move on to the next 2 pairs, we're going to start here with an elbow flexion exercise. So I'm going to insert an incline hammer curl. Okay, and since this is a stretch position exercise for the elbow flexors, I'm going to insert a stretch position exercise for the elbow extensors or for triceps, and that would be a rope French press, okay, in this pair. And now the reason why I'm using a hammer curl here and a French press here is because the chin up is utilizing a supinated grip, so the hammer curl will be utilizing obviously a neutral grip. If we have a neutral grip on this end with the seated cable roll, I am going to use here a seated Zottman curl, which is a combination of supinated grip on the positive and a pronated grip on the negative. So we really utilize all different grips with our elbow flexion work, okay? And the antagonist, somewhat of an antagonist to this exercise, would be a simple cable press down, and here I would favor a straight bar pronated grip. Okay. Now C2 on day 1, if we're more anteriorly motivated up here, we will go with a posterior chain exercise such as the back extension here, and the antagonist, somewhat of an antagonist to that movement, would be hip flexion. So we'll utilize a Swiss ball crunch over here to counter it. And on this end, since we started with the posterior chain movement followed by the abdominal movement, we'll reverse the order here. And here we'll start with a 2-leg lowering exercise as C2, and its antagonist would be a reverse hyperextension as D2. Okay, so you see here we start with the abdominal, one that stimulates more of the lower abdominal, and then it's almost exact antagonist here. The opposite movement will be the reverse hyperextension. Here it's the opposite. Okay, so here we have back extension and or trunk extension, and then trunk flexion, right? And since we started with the elbow flexors on C1, we will start with the elbow extensors on C1 of day 2. Okay, as far as the parameters are concerned, typically you will perform 3 to 4 sets of each exercise, 3 sets for beginners, and up to 4 sets for advanced trainees, at least on the A and B exercises. The reps will be in the 10 to 12 bracket range, and the tempo typically will be anywhere from 3 to 4 seconds of lowering to 1 second of raising with no pause in between, although that will vary on some of the exercises. For instance, on the step up, it may be a 1 second down, pause, 1 second up, pause. So it would be a 1-1-1-1 tempo. On the back extension, for instance, I may implement a 2-0-1-2 tempo, 2 seconds down, no pause, 1 second up, and pause for 2 seconds at the top. But typically each repetition will take anywhere from 4 to 5 seconds. Okay, and as far as rest, here we'll utilize a 60-second rest interval. And this is a typical program for body composition. This will work extremely well. If you stay on this for a 3 to 4 week period, your clients will do very well.